Dear students, after watching the video and going through the original texts of the chapter Nelson Mandela Long Walk to Freedom, I believe that your concept regarding the plot, background as well as the events of the story is now clear. This video is to do with the answers to all the questions of oral comprehension check given in your textbook. So do sit with your notebook and pen because you are going to listen to an audio lecture with answers to all the questions of the oral comprehension check. My dear students, my name is Sujeet Kumar. You are watching Trick Track English YouTube channel. I now take you to the audio part of this video lecture. So let's move. My dear students, here are answers to all the questions given in the oral comprehension check. Question first is, what is the ceremony for? Where did the ceremony take place? The answer is, the ceremony refers to the historic event of Nelson Mandela's swearing in as the first black president of South Africa on 10th May 1994. It was the grand ceremony of the first democratic and non-racial government. The swearing-in ceremony took place in the lovely sandstone amphitheatre in Pretoria. Question second is, how can you say that the 10th May was an autumn day in South Africa? Your answer should be, in his speech, Nelson Mandela describes 10th May 1994 as an autumn day. This is a metaphorical statement by Mandela which means to say that as autumn causes the old leaves of trees to fall to make way for the new leaves to grow, in the same way the 10th May 1994 was the day which ensured the fall of the non-democratic and racial government of South Africa to pave way for the democratic and non-racial government to come in. Your third question is, at the beginning of his speech, Mandela mentions an extraordinary human disaster. What does he mean by this? What is the glorious human achievement he speaks of at the end? Your answer should be, by the phrase, an extraordinary human disaster, Mandela means the inhuman practice of apartheid in South Africa, which allowed the attachment of various discriminations to the black by the white on the basis of race. With no human rights of any kind, slavery, illiteracy, economic backwardness, starvation, and perpetual poverty were imposed on them. For Mandela, the glorious human achievement is the replacement of the non-democratic and racial rule of South Africa by the democratic and non-racial rule, thanks to the untiring and undeterred struggle by the black. Your fourth question is, what does Mandela thank the international leaders for? Your answer should be, Mandela thanked the international leaders for having come and become the part of the presidential swearing-in ceremony of the South African who was considered an outlaw not too long ago. Mandela felt privileged to be the host of nations of world and considered this event as a common victory against injustice, intolerance and inhuman practices. ये रहा आपका अगला सवाल. सवाल है, in his speech, what ideals did Mandela set out for the future of South Africa? ये रहा आपका आंसर. Mandela was highly optimistic. He had progressive visions for his nation and nationals. He envisioned a nation and national free from the continuing bondage of poverty, deprivation, suffering, gender, and other discrimination. He hoped for South Africa's permanent breaking away from the inhuman practices of racial discrimination. Question 6 is, what do the military generals do? How has their attitude changed and why? You should write your answers this way. The rise of Nelson Mandela as the first black president of South Africa was felt both by the leaders world over and the officials of his own country too. The military people and the cops of South Africa, who were once unable to tolerate the ambition of any of the blacks, were suddenly normalized. During the ceremony, the military generals of the South African Defence Force and the police saluted Mandela and pledged their loyalty. This change in attitude was caused due to the formation of a democratic and non-racial government in South Africa under the presidency of Nelson Mandela. आपका 7वां सवाल है, why were two national anthems sung during ceremony? जवाब यह होना चाहिए, on the day of ceremony, two national anthems were sung, one by the black and the other by the white. It was in fact to give the message that the attachment of discrimination on the basis of race and color was now a matter of past. The coming government of South Africa would treat its citizens equal no matter what the color of their skin was. Here is question 8. How does Mandela describe the systems of government in his country, first in the first decade and second in the final decade of the 20th century? Your answer is, Mandela describes that in the first decade of the 20th century, the system of South Africa wasn't fair. The white-skinned people organized themselves and together they erected a system of racial domination and created a society in which black people had got no rights except to do what the white want them to do. But in the final decade of the 20th century, the previous system was challenged and lastly overturned by the new system. The new system recognized the rights and freedom of all the people regardless of the color of their skin. Your 9th question is, what does courage mean to Mandela? Your answer should be, for Mandela, courage is a broad word which means complete domination over the sense of fear. For him, only absence of fear is not courage. During movement against apartheid, he had seen many men stand up to attacks and torture without breaking. For Mandela, those were men who exercised total domination over fear. Therefore, he says that the brave man is not he who doesn't feel fear, but he who conquers that fear. Your question 10th is, which does Mandela think is natural to love or to hate? Your answer is, according to Mandela, no one is born with all aspects of education. Everything that a man learns on this earth, it is on this earth that a man learns to hate, and if one can learn to hate, one can be taught to love, because love comes more naturally to human heart than hate. Your question 11th is, what twin obligations does Mandela mention? Your answer is, Mandela mentions that everyone has two obligations. Obligations to his family, to his parents, to his wife and children, and also he has an obligation to his people, his community and country. Your 12th question is, what did being free mean to Mandela, first as a boy and second as a student? How does he contrast these transitory freedoms with the basic and honourable freedom? A little bit twisty. Write the answer this way. The boy Mandela took freedom guaranteed and thought freedom to be of something that offers merrymaking unrestricted. The only thing to be care about was obedience towards father and adherence to tribe custom. The student Mandela attributes freedom to self-choice of staying out at night, reading what it pleases him, and so on. However, as a young man, he cried for the freedom to lead a basic, dignified life. Slowly, he realized that not only his freedom was restricted, but everyone in his community was barred from leading a normal and lawful life. And that is when his hunger for his own freedom transferred into the greater hunger for the freedom of his people. And your last question is, does Mandela think the oppressor is free? Why and why not? Your answer should be no, Mandela doesn't think so. Rather, he believes that an oppressor is a prisoner of hatred who is locked behind the bars of prejudice and narrow-mindedness. He opines that both the oppressed and the oppressor alike are robbed of their humanity. So my dear students, these were the answers to all the questions given in the oral comprehension check. After listening to the audio lecture, you must make a note of your own. Don't copy my language. I hope you find this video useful as well as helpful. Do like and subscribe my videos, and don't forget to share it for the good of others also. Do comment to make me know what you want to read in your English subject furthermore. See you in the next video. Till then, goodbye.